What if time isn't a straight line? What if, instead of moving forward, we're walking in circles, living, dying, and beginning again in an endless loop? Across myths, philosophies, and now even science, the idea of eternal return has fascinated humanity for millennia. The stars above, the ground beneath your feet, the atoms in your body, all of it has existed before countless times. Modern science suggests that the universe itself might be caught in a cycle of birth, destruction, and renewal. But if the cosmos is destined to repeat itself, what about us? Are our lives echoes of an infinite past? This is the concept of the eternal return, an ancient idea now reframed by modern discoveries. But is it real? And more importantly, if it is, what does it mean for how we live our lives? The Big Bang, the moment when space, time, and everything we know was born, but was it truly the beginning? According to the Big Bounce theory, it wasn't. Instead, the universe might expand for billions of years before collapsing back into a single point, only to explode outward again in a new cycle of creation. This isn't just speculation. Clues left behind in the cosmic microwave background, the faint echo of the Big Bang, hint that this might not have been the universe's first explosion. Quantum gravity theories also propose that space-time itself may behave like a pendulum, endlessly swinging between expansion and collapse. Interestingly, the idea of an eternal cosmos isn't new. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle believed the universe was timeless, though he imagined it as static and unchanging. While his specifics were wrong, he may have glimpsed a deeper truth, that the universe's story is not a singular event, but an infinite loop. And here's where it gets personal. If the universe repeats endlessly, does that mean our lives, our joys, regrets, and choices are destined to replay forever? Or does each cycle hold the potential for something new? Long before modern science, ancient cultures looked to the heavens and saw cycles everywhere, the phases of the moon, the turning of the seasons, the rise and fall of empires. It's no surprise that they imagined time itself as a wheel. In Hindu philosophy, the universe exists in cycles called kalpas, each spanning 4.32 billion years. During each kalpa, the cosmos is created, destroyed, and reborn, endlessly. What's striking is how this ancient idea aligns with modern estimates of Earth's age. Did ancient thinkers intuit cosmic rhythms, or is this coincidence? The Mayans also saw time as cyclical. Their long count calendar tracks cycles of 5,125 years, marking transitions from one era to the next. In 2012, the end of one such cycle was misinterpreted as a doomsday prophecy. In truth, the Mayans viewed it as a renewal, a moment to reset, not to fear. In Norse mythology, Ragnarok describes the destruction of the world by fire and ice. Yet this isn't the end. From the ashes of Ragnarok, the earth is reborn, green and fertile once more. Life begins anew, as if destruction was simply a prelude to creation. These myths, from the Hindu kalpas to the Mayan Baktun and the Norse Ragnarok, all reflect a shared understanding. Time doesn't end, it turns. But here's a question. If time truly is a circle, why do we experience it as linear? Are we too small to see the larger pattern? Or is this perception a product of something deeper, something uniquely human? In 2012, the world held its breath. The Mayan calendar, many believed, had predicted the end of days. Apocalyptic headlines dominated the news, movies depicted global catastrophes, and panic spread, but when the day came, nothing happened. Life went on. So what caused this misunderstanding? The Mayan calendar wasn't predicting an end, but marking the completion of one Baktun, a cycle of 5,125 years. For the Mayans, this wasn't a doomsday prophecy, but a moment of renewal. The world wasn't ending, it was beginning again, as it always had. This isn't the first time humanity has feared cycles. Consider the great flood myths found in cultures across the world, from the Sumerians to the Bible. While often framed as divine punishment, these stories also contain a message of renewal. The flood doesn't just destroy, it cleanses, allowing life to start anew. Even in modern times, we've seen the same pattern. The Y2K panic, for example, predicted chaos as the clocks turned to the year 2000. Planes were expected to fall from the sky, computers to fail, and society to crumble. None of it happened. But the fear was real, rooted in humanity's tendency to see change as catastrophe. Why do we so often misread cycles this way? Perhaps it's because we view time as linear with definitive beginnings and endings. But to many ancient cultures, time wasn't a line, it was a wheel, always turning. What looks like an end is often just the start of a new chapter. This raises an intriguing question. If we've misinterpreted cycles so many times, what other patterns might we be misunderstanding? Patterns in the universe, in history, or even in our own lives? In ancient Egypt, a striking symbol began to appear, a serpent coiled in a perfect circle, devouring its own tail. Known as the Ouroboros, it represents eternity, life feeding on death, destruction giving rise to creation. It's a symbol of cycles, self-sustaining and infinite, and its meaning has endured across centuries. But what makes the Ouroboros fascinating is how differently it has been interpreted. In Eastern traditions, it mirrors concepts like yin and yang, opposing forces in harmony, constantly cycling to maintain balance. In the West, it became a symbol of ambition. During the Middle Ages, alchemists believed the Ouroboros held the key to immortality. To them, it wasn't about balance, it was about transcendence, escaping the cycle entirely. This difference reveals a profound tension in human thought. On one hand, we accept the inevitability of cycles, birth and death, creation and destruction. On the other, we long to escape them, to defy impermanence and achieve something lasting. But the Ouroboros also asks a deeper question. If the cycle is infinite, does it ever change? Are we doomed to repeat the same patterns forever? Or is there space for growth within the loop? In many ways, this paradox lies at the heart of the human experience. We strive for permanence while living in a world defined by change. The Ouroboros reminds us that everything is connected, and that endings are inseparable from beginnings. Perhaps the point isn't to break the cycle, but to understand our place within it. Science fiction has an uncanny way of turning ancient ideas into futuristic thought experiments. Time loops and eternal cycles, once the domain of myth and philosophy, now play central roles in some of the most captivating modern stories. But why does this concept resonate so deeply with us? Take the series Dark, where time isn't linear but an infinite knot. Characters relive the same events, trapped in cycles where their choices and even their fates seem predetermined. It's a chilling concept. If everything repeats, is free will just an illusion? Can we ever escape a pattern written by forces beyond our understanding? Contrast this with Isaac Asimov's Foundation, where civilizations rise and fall in predictable cycles. But here, repetition isn't a curse. It's an opportunity. Each collapse lays the groundwork for something greater. This optimistic take suggests that cycles aren't prisons, but stepping stones for growth and renewal. The same tension appears in other science fiction classics. In Groundhog Day, a single man relives the same day until he changes, not the world, but himself. In The Wheel of Time, the cosmic battle between good and evil repeats endlessly, tying destiny to the eternal cycle of existence. These stories don't just entertain, they force us to confront timeless questions. Can we change our fate, or are we doomed to repeat the same choices over and over? What's fascinating is how these fictional loops reflect ancient philosophies. Nietzsche's idea of eternal recurrence wasn't just a thought experiment, it was a challenge. If you knew your life would repeat endlessly, would you live it differently? And as modern physicists explore the possibility of cosmic cycles, the boundary between myth, fiction, and science grows increasingly blurred. So why do we keep returning to this theme? Perhaps it's because in these stories of repetition we see both our greatest fear, being trapped, and our greatest hope, the chance to grow and change, even in an endless loop. Why are we so drawn to the idea of cycles? Perhaps it's because we see them everywhere. Seasons change, tides rise and fall, day turns to night, and life itself follows a rhythm of birth, death, and renewal. In a chaotic world, cycles give us something rare, a sense of order, a promise that life goes on. Take the myth of the phoenix, a bird that dies in flames only to rise, reborn from its own ashes. It's a tale of destruction and renewal that echoes what we see in nature. Volcanic eruptions may devastate landscapes, but they also create fertile soil for new growth. Even in endings, there's the promise of beginnings, but cycles aren't always comforting. In Hinduism, The endless cycle of samsara, birth, death, and rebirth, is seen as a burden. To escape it and reach moksha is the ultimate goal. This contrasts sharply with Western traditions, where cycles are often romanticized as opportunities for growth and renewal. These opposing views reveal something fundamental about humanity. While we crave continuity, we also long to break free. Even in our daily lives, cycles shape us. Routines provide stability but can feel stifling. Patterns in our behavior repeat, offering both comfort and frustration. Nietzsche's question comes back to challenge us. If your life were to repeat endlessly, exactly as it is, would you celebrate it or despair? The eternal return isn't just a cosmic concept, it's personal. It forces us to reflect on the patterns we create, the choices we make, and the meaning we find within them. If time is a circle, then what kind of circle are we living in? And more importantly, can we change it?